call the Kingston Springs Beer Board to order. I got the gavel good today. Had to snap Jeff out of it over there. All right, John, could you call the roll?
Josh Heatherly.
Here.
Tony Gross.
Here.
Mike Harkis.
Here.
Jeff Lorenz.
Here.
Glenn Renner.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. Do we have a motion to approve the July 18th meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Do we have a motion to approve the August 15th Beer Board meeting agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. All right, we have one item of new business, which is item A, motion to waive special event permit application fee for Sky King Pizza.
If you'll remember last month's beer board meeting, the board approved waiving the special event permit application fee for Sky King Pizza because this was a permit application that was part of the town-sponsored dinner on Main event. However, during the conversation, I mentioned the permit fee was $50. And researching and looking through the town's municipal code, we found out the permit fee was actually $250. So we thought it best to bring it back before the board for another vote on staff request to waive the permit fee.
All right, do we have a motion to waive the move
Second.
the $250 fee? All right, motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Beer board meeting.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Now we'll call to order the public hearing for the Board of Commissioners for August 15th. Right now we are open to public comment on the rezone request for East Kingston Springs Road, rezoning combined lots consisting previously of map 96K, parcels 33, 35, and 36.01, establishing a new single lot as R3 PUD. Anyone like to come up and speak about this rezone? All right. Then item 3 would be open to public comments on ordinance 19-004, establishing the property tax rate for the town of Kingston Springs for the 2019 tax year. Would anyone like to come up and speak about the tax rate? All right. If there's no public comment, we will adjourn the public hearing.
I would like to say something, but not about either one of those subjects.
We'll get you later then. Next meeting. We're going through 3 meetings tonight, so you're on tap for the next one.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. We'll call the Kingston Springs City Commission meeting now to order. John, could you please call, or sorry, I'm moving too fast. Face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, John, could you call the roll again?
Josh Heatherly.
Here.
Tony Gross.
Here.
Mike Harkis.
Here.
Jeff Lorenz.
Here.
Glenn Renner.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. Is there a motion to approve the July 18th, 2019 City Commission meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Is there a motion to approve the August 15th City Commission agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Announcements from commissioners. We'll start with you, Jeff. What?
I would like to acknowledge Officer Nate Palazzi for his going beyond the call of duty. Sometime last year, we had an individual whom he felt that Officer Nate inspired him towards sobriety. So he celebrated 1 year sobriety this last July, and wish that we would acknowledge Officer Nate Palazzi for his going beyond the call of duty.
Josh?
Nope.
Mike?
Nope.
Well, I'd also like to acknowledge Commissioner Rimmick for winning the, now I forgot, but an award from the Harpeth Conservancy for his work on the cleanup of the river last, was that January?
February 27th.
February 27th. So anyway, so they awarded him with a lovely blanket and all the honor that comes along with it on Saturday, I believe. So congratulations. All right, now it's time for community input. So if you'd like to address the commission, come up, stand at the podium, state your name and address. I will note that the commission does not respond during this period, so just, we're just sitting here staring at you, we're taking
Just got
notes.
some
and-
comments. My name is Rick Finley. I live at 1032 Ridgecrest Drive in Kingston Springs. My wife and I have been here about 22 years. We love the community. It's kind of grown in the last 22 years, and traffic's gotten a little bit worse, but we love it. A couple of things that have been bothering me lately. I retired 5 years ago from corporate America and spent a lot of time in the yard, especially in the last 3 or 4 months. First thing is, we always come down Patterson to get home. The reflective edge stripe on Patterson is virtually non-existent, especially at night. Throw in rain, and the fact that it's not exactly a straight road, I'd love to see it striped fairly regularly. If it starts to fade, it gets worse. There's also a lot of weeds and stuff that grow over it that are only trimmed about once a quarter. That's my first issue. Secondly, Ridgecrest Drive. It's almost a mile. There are 2 street lights on it. I can see one from my residence, but it's almost 100 yards away. The value of the homes on that street has gone up tremendously. I'd say most every house on there is $300,000 or more. Without street lights, this country is not what I was raised in. People are not quite as law-abiding as they used to be. I would love to see some more lights on the street and some protection. I have no issue with police patrols because I see them quite often. But I would like to see some lights. Secondly, on the entire street, there is not a speed limit sign. Period. I'm sure there's some city ordinance somewhere that says unless otherwise marked, residential areas are 25 or 30 miles an hour. But I'm sure that the guys out there cutting yards and driving FedEx trucks and contractors going up and down the street aren't reading obscure city ordinances. And I can also guarantee you that very few of them are driving 25 or 30 miles an hour. I can hear them coming up the hill and accelerating. But when they pass my yard, my house, I can guarantee you that some of them are doing 45 or 50 miles an hour. We don't have as many children as we used to have because a lot of people have been there for quite a while, but there's an awful lot of people jogging, walking dogs, walking up and down the streets. I would look. You can put it in front of my place. I don't care. But if you can't do anything else, I'd love to see a speed table out there. The speeders just bother me to no end. Again, we love the community. Wouldn't live anywhere else. But these things have bothered me over the last 3 or 4 or 5 months, so I just wanted to come down and say, if you guys would think about it, take a look at it, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for listening to me. Unfortunately, I can't stay. My wife forgot I was coming down here tonight, and I'm due back home to cook the steaks on the grill.
You better get to that. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you listening.
Tom, do we have that speed trailer out there, so in the meantime,
Oh, yes,
Great idea.
it's been on powder, I mean, it's been on Eastern, Mount Pleasant Way.
we'll move it over there this tomorrow.
And you can send in my driveway,
What was your address again?
1032.
32.
Yellow Creek Road.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to, Bob?
I'm Brentwood Snobby Bob Sanders. I wanted to, first of all, I want to commend the commission and Ms. Armstrong for the zoning 101, 102. Those of you that attended, and I look forward to the next one. Very useful, very informative information, and I appreciate the city doing that. Secondly, I want to commend the city. I'm not Nancy negative on everything. My aged friends that can't come unless they take Geritol are not here tonight, but the house on 216 Woodlands Drive cleaned up today, and I know we still have a few issues, but it looks really good. And I just want to commend y'all for listening to me on some of my gripes and helping us. And I'm after the school board about that shipping trailer out in the side parking lot right now. So I told them that football games is bad enough for parking, and they've taken up quite a few slots. So I just wanted to come down and say thank you and listen to the rest of the business. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Bob. Thanks. Anyone else like to address the commission? That would be the time to do it. All right. Everybody else would, we can move on to department reports. Everyone's gotten a chance to look these over. Is there anything that you need to add?
I do have one thing, Mr. Mayor. Back in February of 2018, Brandy Manny, our Park Director, brought to the board a suggestion or request to allow nonprofits to operate the concession stands at Burns Park if we could find a nonprofit to operate those. We have now found a nonprofit to operate the concession stand at Burns Park for the fall soccer season. It will be local Kingston Springs Boy Scout Troop 594. So they'll be operating the concession stand at Burns Park through the fall soccer season. And if we have events at City Park, they've offered to operate a concession stand there as well for like movies in the parks or potential softball games in the future. So they're going to try it out and see what happens. So I just want to let the commissioners know that we've got an acceptance to that offer.
Hope that works.
Does that include Art Park as well? Or is that a separate?
We most likely will not have the concession stand open for Art in the Park because we'll have food trucks there and we don't want to compete with your business. We didn't open it. We had food trucks last year and didn't open the concession stands last year. I remember it worked out okay.
And I thought it was open for breakfast and coffee. And
We did have coffee out there for the
Usually you
vendors.
go to the library for breakfast. You go to Art in the Park, you go to the library and get breakfast. Waffles and...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can, well, now you know, you
Well,
can't
the
miss it.
library is not in the park, it's up here.
I highly encourage doing the waffles. You won't regret it.
Yeah, you'll see. We'll get you breakfast. You'll
Oh,
be
you're
the rest of us
gonna
volunteer.
be
I'll
very
be down
happy.
there, I'll be down at
that
the
you did
tent,
it.
boys, I'll tell you where I'll be.
Yeah, well,
I got a tent.
you have to bring Teresa some waffles.
There you go.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you all know that Bubba Ivy's having heart surgery tomorrow.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
everybody keep him in your thoughts and prayers.
Where's he gonna be?
You know, I don't know, it's supposed to be an outpatient type. His heart's out of rhythm and they're trying to get it back in rhythm. So he's gonna have some surgery tomorrow.
Legal updates? Brooke?
At this point, no.
All right. We can move on to unfinished business. Item A is second reading of ordinance 19-003, rezone request for East Kingston Springs Road. Rezoning of combined lot consisting previously of map 96K C parcels 33, 35, and 36.01, establishing new single lot, establishing a new single lot as R3 PUD. Anything you would like to add to this, John? Do we have a motion then to move on to second reading?
Motion to move on to second reading. Would you?
To approve this on second
Motion
reading?
to approve the
There
second
you go,
reading.
there you go. All right, do we have a second?
I got a question before we go to the second. Is this the map over here?
It is. And if I may, City Planner Karen Armstrong is here. If you would
Okay.
like to direct any questions to her, she'd be able to answer.
Sure. So, on the map that's in the meeting material, this one?
Yes, sir.
So this is the frontage down here along Kingston Springs Road, next door to
That's
the storage. And then is phase two the one, the smaller one there, and phase three is the back one?
May I approach?
Yeah, you can.
It's difficult for me to
So
relay that to you.
That's the street.
There's 4 phases.
And
That's
phase
phase
1
one.
is here, phase 2 is here, phase 3 is here. This is undisturbed. It's not subject to any remedial action or development right now. Does that help everybody to orient?
Right now.
Right now.
Well, at the point that if the rezoning is approved, a set of plans will be submitted to the planning commission, and that will be determined by them,
Okay.
what's required.
But we're voting on whether that's included or not, right?
That is correct. All 3
And
of
it
these
is
parcels have been, it is
And it
included.
is included.
And what you're voting on is a couple of things. One, the zoning for the front parcel was C2.
Correct.
The other 2 were residential R1. The planning commission and this city commission assigned an RPUD overlay to
Right.
those lots. So what you're voting on tonight is the rezoning request that will then allow all these parcels to be combined together under an RPUD R3. So that's the subject of the request. Any other questions from the commission?
So, were you on the planning, who was on the planning commission when this first started, as far as when Mr. McPherson started having the lot, had the codes issues? I was trying to get a timeline. I tried to contact Mike Patton note on that. I was trying to figure out when that started. Because and the reason I'm asking that question is there was a significant amount of time between when it was identified that there were quite a few violations from the time that he responded to those violations. Am I correct?
I think that is correct. Originally, this project for development was submitted in 2017. And then the Planning Commission recommended through its interaction with Mr. McPherson 2 years ago that he put the property in an R5 for development. Mr. McPherson withdrew the project. In the meantime, he had a grading permit. At various times, there have been 4 issued. Stop works have been issued multiple times as well. So
Without interaction with him, because he did not
no,
respond.
he was interacted with.
Oh,
There was interaction. All of those notices go to the property owner. He had multiple discussions with your previous building inspector, I think going back 2 building inspectors ago. At the point that the city issued a notice of violation, which occurred almost a year ago, it's been almost a year, he and his development team and the city worked to put together a plan to address the issues on the property.
that was the official violation, but he was notified of those
That's
violations much more previous to the actual issuance.
Yes, sir, that is correct. At some point.
And given a lot of leniency.
Yes.
Okay.
There were multiple occasions where activity would begin and then stop, begin and then stop, and begin and then stop. So the planning commission adopted a remediation plan, gave a prescriptive number of steps in order to address the issues on the property, and that began when the grading permit was issued last year.
So the phase 1 has been cleaned up and core tested, correct?
That is correct. Phase 1 has been excavated to bedrock.
What about phase 2? Has it been core
Phase
tested?
2 was excavated to bedrock. Material was sorted into suitable fill and unsuitable fill.
Okay.
Unsuitable fill was removed from the property, hall tickets were furnished, pictures were furnished, inspections were conducted by the city. Phase 2 then was filled and compacted without them securing permit.
Right.
The initial instructions given by the planning commission were done in writing.
That's.
A letter was sent, the letter was countersigned by the developer, and all project leads. Emails followed up to remind everybody every step of the way what the process was. It's been done in a very linear fashion. So we're at the point now where phase 1 is completely excavated, no filling has occurred. Phase 2 stored the clean fill material on top of the filled and compacted material that was installed there after it was cleaned. So the planning commission, on advice of staff, advised Mr. McPherson that an independent geotechnical engineer would have to review the report, couple of core samples to make sure that the fill that was installed was clean, because it was done without city inspections or
That was
permit.
installed without permit.
That's that second email that you sent, John, right? That's not in.
That's where we are.
Is that in the packet? Talking about both the Lubin Hills property and the McPherson property?
That's right. It's in a separate.
It's in it?
Both of them are in there.
Yeah, okay.
You got
It's in
the
the
separate memo.
Yes, it's in memo.
Did
And
that
it's on
somewhat
back half
answer
of
your
that.
question, Mr. Eder?
Well, I guess one last question then is, that we're gonna vote on second reading here tonight for changing, in the zoning,
Yes, sir.
but we don't know for sure that he's in compliance on phase 2 yet, right? Because we hadn't done the testing there.
We do not, but I need to make sure that this commission, the planning commission, is keenly aware that these two operations are entirely separate. State law, if there's an existing violation of property, it does not prohibit you from seeking rezoning.
Okay.
So there's no prohibition on that. Again, it's recommended by the planning commission. I don't advocate for or against, but you have it based on recommendation of the planning commission. Mr. McPherson attended.
Meaning they recommend to change it to a PUD.
That
Right.
they did.
Okay.
They recommended that change
That
actually
helps.
in June.
That makes it more clear. Okay.
In June. And then since June, the reason why it did not appear in your agenda again until August is because we needed to make sure that the 4 steps that were necessary to address the property were occurring, so
Right.
that everybody had a comfort level with where they were.
Well, that thing that's buzzing around in my head is how we're going ahead with this.
Yes, sir. Until Mr. McPherson has had a concept review discussion with the planning commission that occurred this month. He submitted plans quite some time ago. Obviously, we could not allow him to move forward. It was a zoning issue, a number of other issues on the property. So that's been set to the side until that issue moved forward. Substantial compliance is what the law usually dictates. We have reached that point in phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 3 has not been touched, nor will it be, until all development plans are reviewed and approved and all the steps are followed. So he has presented the concept. The plans have been seen by the planning commission. They were submitted way back before he ever got the recommendation from the planning commission to come here for the rezone. So the proposal is a 45 apartment unit, 45 units. It's in preliminary stage. Nothing has been approved. He will not be able to receive construction permission till a violation is cured.
So 45 are phase 1 and 2 only?
All 3 phases.
That's all 3?
That's all 3 phases.
Okay.
There are limiting factors on the lot, as you know, is topography, flow line streams, a number of other things. And then your subdivision regulations, your development regulations require open space, parking spaces, playgrounds, and a number of other things. So all of those are limiting factors on the use of the land. And you also have lot coverage restrictions as well.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
No, yeah, I would just add, I guess, while we're still in this phase, it's an important point that this does come from the planning commission, which is a body that has been deliberating this issue for years now, literally. So this is a product from them where they've spent a lot of time working on this. And if something were askew, they probably would not have voted to send it to the city commission. I just think it's important to remember that.
Well, that's why I was trying to get this clarified, because I didn't know if this happened before or after the recommendation to move it to a PUD.
Yes, sir.
So that was the question.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Any other questions?
I'm good. I'm cool.
Thank you, Jim.
All right, we have a motion to approve ordinance 19-003 on second reading. Do we have a second?
The reading?
To approve this on second reading, correct?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Glenn has offered a motion to approve. We're still waiting on a second. I will second it. Nobody's wanted to second it. Is there any discussion? Any additional discussion on this? All right, will just reiterate that, of course, this is the product of the planning commission. Based on this, all these other things that we are talking about, those are issues that the planning commission will deal with as this process moves forward. So we do have a body in place that handles those sorts of things. We'll call the roll. John?
Josh Etherly?
Voting or roll?
On the
Voting.
voting. Roll call vote. No?
Tony Gross?
Yes.
Mike Hargis?
Yes.
Jeff Lorenz?
No.
Glenn Murray?
Yes.
All right. Motion passes by 3. All right, item B is second reading of ordinance 19-0004, establishing the property tax rate for the town of Kingston Springs for the 2019 tax year. Is there anything like that? This, John, we of course went through this last
No, sir, I don't.
All right.
What was that final tax rate?
The final tax rate, we went to an even
0.70.
70, and it's like a little over a cent, I believe, or a little under 2 cents, I guess, actually. All right, do we have a motion to approve ordinance 19-004?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, John, could you call the roll?
Josh Etherly?
Yes.
Tony Gross?
Yes.
Mike Hargis?
Yes.
Jeff Lorenz?
Yes.
Glenn Murray?
Yes.
All right, motion passes. 11 is new business, first reading of ordinance 19-005, amending Title I, Chapter 3 to authorize the city manager to execute certain contracts on behalf of the town of Kingston Springs.
I'll let Martha Burke weigh in as well, but this is, another item on the agenda is the agreement to go into service agreement with software, and as we were discussing that, it came up the question that it was not clear that the city manager or the mayor or either one had the option of signing into these contracts. So if it was agreed upon by the Board of Commissioners, then would it be possible for the city manager to sign the contract, or would it still need to defer to the mayor to sign the contract? So this just clears that up, just to clarify also that any agreements before they are considered will, of course, come before the Board of Commissioners before they're signed.
Our charter and ordinances give contract signing authority to the city manager, but only to the extent as approved by ordinance by this board. And we couldn't find an ordinance that had ever been laid out. So we've given the city manager in the past authority to handle expenditures up to $10,000. So that's why we went ahead and put that first part of it in there that says he can execute contracts up to that amount, because that goes hand in hand with his expenditure authority. We also find that periodically we have to sign things with the state of Tennessee related to the consolidated retirement system, et cetera, that are just general in nature, rather than having to bring them to the board for permission to sign them every time. We put that in there that he's allowed to sign them, so long as it's not increasing any financial obligation on behalf of the city. And then finally, any other agreements that are not going to extend any further financial obligation would be able to, of a routine matter, we'd be able to handle those. So anything else coming forward in the future that relates to an expenditure is still going to have to come back to you guys for approval, but this is just really more of an administrative situation where we're just kind of making sure we have our I's dotted and T's crossed.
All right, do we have a motion to approve ordinance 19-005 on first reading?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. All right, item B is first reading of ordinance 19-006, amending Article 8, Section 8.020 of the Kingston Springs zoning ordinance to clarify responsibilities of the building inspector and town planner for administration of the zoning ordinance and all applications for building permits. So this is finally,
This is a discussion that came out of the Planning Commission as well, and it's codifying or outlining the process that we're currently going through with the Planning Commission, with all permits requests coming through the city planner and then the building inspector to ensure that we have a consistent, solid process for each applicant.
So this is a change.
Yeah.
On a forward basis, right?
It's a clarification. Some of these processes were sort of in place, but this is just to make sure that we have a specific route for how those things go when people apply for a permit. The zoning will be checked by the city planner. and then the building inspector, and before it's all issued. So it just sets in place an order of operations to speak of, and that was recommended once again by the planning commission.
Okay.
So do we have a motion to approve on first reading ordinance 19-006?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Item C is motion to authorize the city manager to enter the town of Kingston Springs into a service agreement with iWork software for tracking building codes and permitting materials.
From our discussion last month, this was brought up and gone back to iWorks to clarify a couple of things. If you notice in the packet, two issues came up at last month's meeting. One was the amount of storage space available, and they had put in writing that we have 100 gigabytes of storage space available. Also discussed whether files going in would be files coming out should we decide to sever our service in the future. They've clarified that in writing as well, and we've discussed and had a review of the software online. So the staff is comfortable.
So what does that mean? That means we get our work back without it being encoded?
Yes, sir. So if we send them a PDF, they'll send us a PDF back, same with the JPEG or any other kind of file type. It won't be any type of proprietary file coming back to us that we would then have to figure out how to access.
Good.
And you reviewed that.
Yes.
So what's the increase in the package to cover the building code? Well, is that on the second invoice here?
Yes, so that's the cost of the application, the setup fee will be an annual fee moving forward.
Does that include both pieces, or is that just adding in the building and the code?
No, that includes everything.
That includes everything. So what was it before the building and code?
It was actually always designed for building and codes. There were just a couple of issues with the amount of storage space available,
okay.
and then the file types, getting out what we put in.
Right.
So we clarified that in writing with them.
Perfect.
All right, do we have a motion to authorize the city manager to enter into this contract with iWork software?
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. All right, we have no items for surplus. Is there anything else for discussion? The reminders are, we have movies in the park Saturday, August 24th. Dinner on Main, Sunday, September 8th. So if you haven't gotten your ticket already, too late. Kingston Springs Farmers and Artisans Market, Saturday through the end of September.
Was that a sellout?
That was sell out in 2 hours.
2 hours.
2 hours.
There's a waiting list.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.